I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:32. Let's see, how many people do we have on the call? We have about 35 people on the call. That's a pretty good group. I'm going to just remind everybody to please sign the attendance sheet that I have put in the chat. And I'm going to invite the interpreters to please introduce themselves in their languages.
Buenas noches, soy la señora Rodríguez, estaré interpretando para español en esta noche.
Okay, hi. My name is Karen. So I'm going to translate into Chinese for today's meeting. 那大家好，我今天是帮你们翻译成中文的哈，谢谢。
Great, thank you so much. And I want to just draw attention to the chat where there is a link for a Chinese English agenda, if that is helpful to anyone. Could the Chinese interpreter just let people know that there is a link to a Chinese agenda?
OK 然后你们家长可以看到右面聊天室那边有一个议程哈，然后是中英文的议程，然后你们可以自己点开来看。
Thank you so much. I'm going to now call the roll. Camille Casaretti.
Present.
Antonia Ferraro, yes, I'm here. Tia Shellsteed.
Here.
Claudia Lechuga. I didn't see her come. Is she here? No? Claudia's not here?
What? Chloe, select.
Oh, I think somebody needs to mute themselves in the audience. Hold on a second, I lost my place. Vincent Liu?
Present.
Ina Blishstein? No, Ina Blishstein? Nana Poku Ajakum?
Here.
Alfred DeAngelis?
Here.
Joseph Alexander?
Here.
Ivan Banda?
Here.
And Jared Moser, our student member.
Here.
Great. We do have quorum, and I will now read the introduction. Thank you for coming to District 15's Community Education Council meeting. We appreciate your time and we're glad you could join us. For those of you who are new to CEC meetings, there are 32 CECs throughout the city, plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents the community school district, and each is made up of 11 volunteer members, 9 of whom are elected by parents in the district. The remaining members are appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President. CEC15 is a state mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in education decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high quality education.
Antonia, you're muted.
Antonia, you're muted. I think that actually might have been my fault, and I'm sorry. Would you please unmute and then just go a little bit slower, because I see that the interpreters are trying to follow along.
Hello?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I muted you by mistake.
Oh, okay.
And I was saying, if you would just please go a little bit slower, because
Okay, for
the interpreters are trying.
Got it. Okay. CEC15 is a state mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in education decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high quality education that benefit all of our District 15 public elementary and middle school students. CEC15 serves 35 elementary and middle schools and 1 high school. CEC members serve in an advisory role on education matters to the district superintendent, the chancellor of the Department of Education, and elected officials. We approve district school zoning lines submitted by the Department of Ed. We evaluate our district superintendent. We review the district's education programs, and we support school leadership teams. We also submit recommendations for the School Construction Authority's annual capital plan. We actively seek input and feedback from the public and encourage you to visit our website, CEC15.org. Take a look at our Facebook page and write to us about any issues you may want to address or learn about. All of our names and contact info are available on our website. And I will just drop a reminder to please sign in on the attendance sheet linked in the chat. Thank you so much. And I'll turn it over to the parliamentarian for the public comment protocol. Joe?
Sorry, one moment. Here we are. Effective Friday, September 2nd, 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed legislation extending virtual access to public meetings under New York State's open meetings law, which allows New Yorkers to virtually participate in local government meetings during the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight's meeting is taking place remotely and will include public comment period so that we may allow for additional feedback from our families and school community members. You may leave your camera on, or for your own privacy, if you prefer, you may use audio only during the comment period and throughout the meeting. For rules of engagement, when you comment, please respect the privacy of others. Please do not include names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. The public comment period is meant for comments, but as is customary, CEC 15 wants to hear your comments and concerns and help you get them addressed as needed. When answers cannot be given in session, we will provide them.
You're muted.
That's weird. Please sign up for CEC 15 emails at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. So for public comments, during the public comment period, you may add comments to the chat or raise your hand to speak. If you don't know, there's a little digital hand raising thing. Speakers will be called one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. It is possible that not every question will be given time. So the best way to get your question answered is always to write to the CEC at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. Camille?
Thank you so much, Joe. Welcome back to a new school year, everyone. I'm Camille Casaretti, and I want to welcome all of our guests. I see people here from the D15 President's Council, PA and PTA leaders, our families, principals, teachers, and staff. I see a lot of CEC members on the call from outside of District 15, and we really appreciate you and your support. I see people here from the citywide B75 Council. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I am super excited to make this announcement about our newest council member, who was recently appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President. And Steve Randall, she's here with us today, having her time and talents to the families of this district. She worked on the Participatory Action Research Team over the last 18 months or so, engaging community members around the rezoning of 7 of our elementary schools in the northern part of the district. Nancy is also co-president at PS58 and brings a world of knowledge and experience with her. We are delighted to welcome Nancy Randall to our council. Congratulations, Nancy. Do you want to say hello, say a few words?
Sure. Hi, thank you, Camille. Thank you to the rest of the CEC members. I'm so grateful to have received the Brooklyn Borough President appointment, and I am excited to serve our district. And I look forward to, thank you so much, Superintendent Scott. I look forward to joining you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Nancy came to us at the last minute today. And so we're so excited to be able to have her come and say hello. And she may have to drop off the call a little bit early, but just really, really grateful to have you here and looking forward to working together. And again, congratulations. So, sorry, I wasn't muted that whole time, was I?
No, just at the very end.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm having a lot of computer issues here. So this is our first calendar meeting since schools have reopened, and there are many families who have decided to keep their children home, demanding a remote option, and we support that decision. We will continue to advocate for a remote accommodation for our families, especially those who require one. You can lend your support for a remote option by writing to New York State Senator John Liu and Assemblywoman Fernandez, who have recently introduced a bill to require the DOE to provide remote learning for families who want it. And I would ask if somebody would please drop that information in the chat. There's a link to find out who your senator and assembly member are at mygov.nyc.org, which you'll find in the chat. You can also write to Governor Hochul about a remote option for any family who wishes to keep their children home at this time. Please also drop that link if it hasn't already been done. And lastly, on the subject of remote learning, there is a law firm that has agreed to represent parents who want to bring a legal action against the DOE. There is no fee to be a part of this. The legal services are being provided for free. And we will drop that link in the chat as well if you'd like to participate in that remote learning lawsuit. So as many of you know, we have a new CEC term that started in July, and we've been meeting and working on resolutions, and we have a few on the agenda tonight that we're going to be discussing. One very important one to increase COVID testing in schools. As always, we are seeking feedback from the public around this and other important issues. We want to hear how your back to school experience has been. Are you having any busing issues? We know that there have been issues with busing, with Metro cards. Are your child's IEP services being provided? Are you getting enough communication from your school, parent coordinator? You know, just want to make sure that everybody is in the loop and getting what they need. And we also want to know how we can do better here, better in serving you. And so we are going to ask you for your help to let us know what we can do better to help. Some of you on the call are new to CEC meetings. I would ask that you explore our website at CEC15.org. We have a mission and vision statement listed there, and that gives a little bit of insight into the work that we do. We are seeking your feedback on this as well. And if you could indulge me, I'm just going to read it to you all so that we are all on the same page at this moment in time. So our mission statement says CEC15 believes that every child is entitled to a high quality education, a safe and healthy school environment, and equal educational opportunities. The mission of CEC15 is to promote and support the educational needs of District 15 public elementary and middle school students. Of course, we know that we do have one high school under Anita Scott's superintendency, so we probably should amend that line. And then the vision statement. CEC 15 is dedicated to a meaningful, innovative, and inclusive way of educating children that allows students to thrive in every aspect of their enriched academic, social, and emotional growth. Our collaborative, successful refinding and nurturing their many hidden talents. In partnership with families, our young adults find their voice, build self-confidence, and develop their ability to become independent thinkers and productive, caring people responsible for shaping an equitable society. We believe that every child has an innate capacity to love learning, is filled with possibility, and has the potential for greatness. We are committed to supporting this greatness. We invite all members of our school communities to partner with us in making this vision a reality. Now, without you all, you on this call, our district, our teams of leaders, none of this is possible. And like that vision statement I just read, much of this is just a dream unless we are willing to work at it every single day. We've accomplished so much together, but we still have so far to go. This work doesn't end, it's for the greater good. And I know District 15 often gets a lot of praise for our work with the middle school diversity plan, and more recently, our rezoning of Sub-District 3, having engaged with the community for close to 2 years. These examples are still in the earliest stages of what we hope will be a success, where members of our district and school communities learn together, learn about each other, and grow together. It's going to take a village to succeed. Some days the work will be easy and fun, and you'll see that there are celebrations and many people gathering around. Other days it will be difficult and challenging, and you might want to fight harder, or you might have to take a minute to breathe before you get back on that path. I say to you, stay the course. No matter what length of time, do not give up. We are on this path together. When one of us trips, we pick them up. If someone wants to run ahead, we're going to tell them to be careful. And if someone is taking their time, we let them know that we will be waiting for them when they arrive. This is what we have to do for each other if we're going to remain in community and grow together as one. I know a lot of you have felt angry and discouraged and beaten down by the loss of PS295's beautiful mural, and many of us want to keep its memory alive. This meaningful, important work of art created by our children represented some of their deepest emotions and desires. I can feel the pain that our community is in right now, the hurt that was caused by rash decision-making and thoughtlessness as to the harm the removal might cause. And as the news develops, I beg you, don't let this pain consume you. It is not what the children intended when they designed this piece. The truth will find us. We need not seek it out in ways that are destructive. Don't let this sense of urgency for accountability control you. We know and have seen that moving too quickly, making harsh decisions can cause further harm. We have time. And we have parent leaders and community supporters who are willing to help find an equitable, best way forward. This district has never been punitive in its thinking. And the time is now not to start. We use restorative justice practices in our schools, and we have courageous conversations around very challenging topics like race and biases. It's very emotional work, and it takes a toll on everyone, but it needs to be done. And as a community, this is what we stand for. I would ask you all to look inside your heart to find a workable outcome, something that can keep us whole and not divided. What is our ultimate collective goal? Members of the PS295 community have been asking since early August for the DOE leadership to create a transparent, restorative process facilitated by an outside organization with authentic accountability. I stand behind that request and want to see a clear plan delineating the next steps in this process. The impacted families should be a part of this process, and our school leaders should be able to participate. We cannot come together when people are being silenced by the legal departments. We have worked to support equity at all of our schools and will continue to do so. It is my hope that we can work together to reunite us all as a community and heal this pain for the good of our students and families. Who are we if we don't support the people who are fighting for equity? We cannot squash them down and silence them. After weeks of asking for time and space to be heard, families of 295 and 443 are finally being given a forum to talk about and share their heartfelt stories about the mural. Councilmember Menchaca has offered to meet with families and school community members tomorrow night at a town hall starting at 6 p.m. You all are invited to join. Drop the link in the chat. I ask you to come with an open mind and an open heart. People are grieving and in pain. They're angry and looking for accountability. Let's do our best to come together to figure out where we can go from here. This is not a time to focus on policy and procedure, whether the reason for taking down the mural was political or not, or if it was signed off on properly. All of this is an aside to the 4 crucial steps that we must take to move forward together, which include recognizing and acknowledging the harm that was done, taking responsibility for the harm, taking action to repair the harm, and taking action to prevent the reoccurrence of the harm. I hope that many of you will join the call tomorrow with Councilmember Menchaca. And if you can't, to keep our school community members in your thoughts and send your collective support for healing this community in crisis. Before we move on in the meeting and I invite the representatives from the Office of District Planning to present, I want to make a few quick announcements about just meetings that are coming up. For one, on October 6th, next week, Wednesday night, the Panel for Education Policy will be meeting. This meeting should have happened last week and it was postponed, so please keep an eye open for that invitation. There are contracts that will be voted on and changes to Chancellor's regulations. You might want to send in some comments of your own on those votes. And then, excuse me, on Tuesday night, October 12th, we will be having a CEC business meeting. And then our next calendar meeting will be on October 26th. Please save the date. It's very likely that our future meetings will be on Zoom, at least until the winter. On October 23rd, which is a Saturday, we found sure that your PAs and PTAs register to be a part of this really amazing event that has happened for many, many years, and it's just an enormous amount of fun. And just one last note of thanks to Superintendent Scott and PS94's principal, Christina Gonzalez, and her amazing staff. We have 2 of them here with us tonight who offered to do our Spanish and Mandarin translation when our translators our interpreters, I'm sorry, were not able to make it at the last minute. And so I thank you all so much for helping with this, because we were almost at a point of having to reschedule this meeting, not having interpretation for this very important presentation that we're going to be having from district planning, and of course the district report from Superintendent Scott, and high school report from Superintendent Ross. So we have a lot of great people here with us tonight, a lot of information to share. And then of course we have some resolutions on the table as well that we would love your feedback on. I'm going to apologize for taking so much time. I appreciate all of you and thank you so much. I will hand the floor over to Anne McGroarty, who is here from the Office of District Planning, to give the D15 data presentation.
Thank you so much, Camille. Thank you, CEC15. It's nice to see you all. Some familiar faces, some new faces. Yay, Nancy. Some par faces. And also just want to acknowledge all of our parents from CEC 70, CEC 75, CCSE. Thanks for joining. And hi, Nick Wan from D16. Just nice to see you all. I wanted to just introduce the other folks from my office who are joining. I'll let Jess introduce herself.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, everyone. My name is Jess Miller. I also work in the Office of District Planning with Anne. I actually work on the Manhattan team, but I am here to support tonight in Max Vermillion's absence as he is on parental leave for the next couple of months. So thank you so much for having me.
And I wanted to let Brian introduce himself too, if he's able to.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm new analyst, just here to absorb everything.
Brian is our awesome new analyst on the Brooklyn team. Camille, I am not able to share my screen. Are you able to allow that so I can get started on the presentation?
I think Antonia will make you a co-host. I'm not able to do that right now.
Thank you. Perfect. So the first set of slides I'm going to share, they might look familiar. We shared these to all of the new city CEC council members. So there was an orientation at the end of the summer, and we shared these slides. It's a brief sort of overview of our office and our work. And this is just our agenda for tonight. We already did our introductions. I'm going to do a brief overview of the office and our work. We really want to spend most of the time getting into the data summary and sharing it because it's a pretty lengthy document, and I think that it is very helpful to talk through it and have a discussion around that. So I'm going to share that, and then definitely leave enough time for questions. So moving to just our goals as an office, we are committed to equity and excellence for all, and we use four main goals to guide our work in our planning process. We really look to partner with communities in the district planning process. When we can, we're trying to increase access to quality programs, particularly in neighborhoods and areas where historically students have been underserved. We also, when we can, try to think about ways we can increase diversity and integration across our schools, and also looking lastly to improve learning conditions. So where are facilities that we might need to replace, recite, bring a school to a new building in order to increase access to better facilities. Let me see here. All right, this is just sort of like a graphic that kind of talks about how our work is done. We spend time as an office internally looking at the needs of a district. We do this with all of our districts. We talk about what we're seeing, the trends over time, and then we take it to our superintendents for one-on-one conversations. So we get together with them and talk about what their goals and visions are for the district and what we're seeing in terms of the data. Sometimes they ask for more data and we provide that. After we do that, we start reaching out to our office partners, in different parts of the DOE. We work a lot with the Office of Student Enrollment, and we talk to them, and we talk to the Office of School Design, especially if there are new buildings coming to a district. And then after that, we bring it to communities. That means having conversations with school communities about potential proposals. That means coming to the CEC to hear what folks at the CEC have as priorities. And then, all of this kind of helps develop community-driven proposals. And this is a little bit about, this is just sort of a slide that shows the levers that we use. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those levers. Excuse me for the phone ringing, particularly the levers that are govern our work and the things, the buckets that we work pretty hard on. I'm really sorry about that. That is so annoying. Okay, it looks like it's gone. So, oh, it's not. So as we go through the data, I have some questions that we like to share with folks because it's very helpful, especially if you're seeing this data for the first time, to think about, ask some questions while you're looking at the data. So the first question is, do students have access to quality schools that meet their needs? That's an important thing we think about. Are schools able to offer robust programming? And that's why we talk a lot about enrollment and look at enrollment trends in a district. We do think about how DOB buildings are used and whether they're being used efficiently. And, are there overcrowding in spaces? How can that be addressed? And, lastly, especially this is kind of one of the biggest ones that we think about right now is we're still in a pandemic, right? There's still COVID-19 is still very much a pandemic. And how are there new issues that have been arising in districts? And are there issues that have always been a problem in the district and now they're just even more salient than ever or really rising to the top? So those are sort of the guiding questions. I know that Jess had popped them into the chat the last time we presented at a CEC meeting, and I think that's really helpful.
Yep, they're in there now, so please reference them as Anne goes through the data.
Great.
And might I ask you to just slow down a tad so that
Oh yeah, I'm talking too fast.
Yes, I don't know, maybe you might not have realized, but actually these are not our typical interpretation team, and they are just these wonderful staff people from PS 94 who are helping us out to make this happen. So thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. So you've all been able to have access to the data summary. This is a summary that we provide for every district. And this is a fairly new format in the way we put it. We're trying to figure out ways to be, make the data more readable, approachable, visual. And I've actually never seen what it used to look like, but I've heard that it was quite, Jess could probably say it was quite a different beast before. So I'm really excited that this is a format that's much more readable for myself. The first thing I want to just show is the table of contents. This is a really helpful way to just kind of know what is in this data summary. It's pretty dense. We have citywide trends. We look at enrollment across the district. We talk about seat demand in this. We also have a pretty big section on buildings and capacity, including new capacities are coming to the district. We talk about the seat need in District 75. We have several pages on demographics. And, lastly, we talk a little bit about the special programs in the district and the map. So I'm going to talk through this, and there's a lot going on. So, you can write down your questions. I'm always available. Jess and I and Brian are always available to, answer follow-up questions, and, happy to have continued dialogue. Sometimes we come back to CECs more than once talking about the data. So the first thing I wanted to show, and I think maybe make it a little smaller so everyone can see, is the citywide trends. This is important because it's sort of, when we're thinking about what's happening in a district, we also want to talk about what's happening citywide. So, in the last 5 years, district enrollment has declined every year since 2016. And we're seeing right now, the largest dip was from 2019 to 2020. Conversely, we're looking at, when we look at citywide District 75 enrollment, we are seeing that this is a trend that has grown about 12% since 2016. So this is a number that is increasing. And, we always keep an eye on this because as our office, we're a lot of times tasked with finding space for new District 75 programs. Sometimes this happens, in the middle of the year. We see that there needs to be new programming. So a lot of our work is involved with finding buildings that have space, looking for those co-locations that make sense, and hopefully having having really rich co-locations with District 75 schools in our community school districts. I'll talk a lot about this because we've had a lot of exciting things happening in District 15 in the last 2 to 3 years, pretty much the whole time I've been here. So there are 2 regulations that our office really has a lot of work involved with. The first one is Chancellor's Regulation A185. Now that is the regulation that governs all the processes related to either rezoning an area or school or district or unzoning. And as you may know and familiar with CECs, that is their one strong voting power, is that they can either vote to approve a rezoning or an unzoning or vote against a rezoning and unzoning. So that is, really something that we want to partner with closely with CECs. And a perfect example of that is the rezoning that was passed this past June to rezone 6 schools in the sub-district 3, that's Red Hook, Gowanus, Borum Hill, and parts of Carroll Garden. We rezoned, and this was spurred on by multiple factors, one of which was inequity in the district, in these district schools, disparities that we've been seeing. Also, the fact that there was a new addition opening at one of the schools, that's PS 32. So all of this added to the need to rezone. And we could talk more about the process that we used to rezone. It was a lengthy process that involved a participatory action research project. And we're excited that this kind of project is also going to be used to look at long-term planning in Sunset Park. So A185 is rezonings and unzonings. A190 is the process that governs major changes to school buildings and school utilization. So anything like a co-location or a school merger would have to be, it's a legal process in which we write a proposal. That proposal gets voted on by the Panel for Educational Policy. That is a citywide panel that votes on A190 proposals, but also many other things like contracts for the city and other types of work. I mean, I think that the Panel for Educational Policy meets every month towards the end of the month. And so you'll probably, as a new CEC member, you'll probably hear a lot about what we call the PEP. That's the Panel for Educational Policy. So in the same time as this rezoning was happening, there was also a proposal that to reconfigure the grades of one of the elementary schools in Sub-District 3 in Red Hook. So that proposal, which actually was generated from a lot of work with the PAR team and working with Red Hook folks who were on the PAR team, was to reconfigure the grades from an elementary school to a middle school. That proposal we posted in the spring of this year, and it was approved by the Panel for Educational Policy in April, I believe. So that means that in next year, 2022, Red Hook Neighborhood School, which was an elementary school, is going to be adding middle school grades and at the same time removing elementary school grades. And it's a gradual phase in. We also in that proposal we also wrote in the relocation that school is going to move into a new school building in the 2025 school year. So in just last year, we had both an A185 rezoning passed in District 15 and a grade reconfiguration, which is an A190. So there was a lot going on. We worked with the CEC quite extensively, and it was, I feel like, a great partnership. You know, we had our disagreements, but I think everybody, including the PAR team, got together for really rich conversations. I'm going to move on to look at the enrollment trends. So the enrollment trends in District 15, as you can see, we broke it down by grade band, and this is looking at the 5-year trends. Similar to what we were seeing in citywide enrollment, we're seeing a decline at the elementary school level in District 15. But when you look at 6th through 8th grade for middle school, we're seeing an overall increase in the number of students attending middle schools in District 15. And that's like just an important thing to think about because I know it's come up about overcrowding in middle school and thinking about that. So we just wanted to flag that. The overall change is a little less than 2%. So we're still from very robustly enrolled schools in the district. I'm going to move on to the charter, the district and charter enrollment breakdown. You can see that enrollment in charter schools has increased in elementary school over the past 3 years. I want to note that there's some elementary charter schools phasing in. So this is also, that also accounts for why we're seeing this increase. And in terms of middle school charter, we're seeing a decrease over the last 3 years. I just wanted to point that out too. And also just a note that the middle school present, I mean, the charter school presence is proportionally higher at the middle school level in District 15 than elementary school. So more students are choosing district elementary schools versus charter. And let me know if I'm talking too fast. I wanted to just really call out this low enrolled schools. You know, we do talk about low enrolled schools. It's something we think about. You know, I think we're moving away from like actual numbers and what's happening. You know, instead of having a marker of 250 is too small, we just want to like see what's going on in a school. And I put these 2 schools on just to show you that the reason why you're seeing the blue line increasing is because this school, PS 896, is phasing in the district. And this other red line is PS 676, which was the Red Hook neighborhood school, the school I was talking about that is phasing into an elementary school, a middle school. So this school has seen some declines, and this is the idea to reconfigure the school was a way to keep a school community intact and also add on to where we're seeing need in terms of the middle school level. So if this graph were to go on, over the next couple of years, you would see the red line shoot up because of the middle school enrollment. I'm going to kind of graze by these. There's a lot on the retention, on where students from the, who go to school in District 15 live, and overwhelmingly they are coming from the district. But I do want to just hone in just to show you all the elementary school retention and the middle school retention. So I think a lot of folks probably know, for familiar, that there is there's high retention. So students who live in District 15 do attend elementary schools in District 15 overwhelmingly. It's higher at the elementary school level, but at the middle school level, we're also seeing fairly high retention. And this chart just breaks down where students, on each grade band are coming from. So how many 86% of students are from the district, are enrolled. So where District 15 students. So 86% are enrolled in district schools. And then you see 7% are enrolled outside the district and 6% of charters. And it's similar, you can read this on your own, but we're seeing that once again, there's a fairly high retention, kind of mirrors the last graph I showed. I'm going to go over this. I wanted to talk a little bit about seat demand and capacity. So this is where we look at the total number of students who are attending school in the district, and also what the amount of seats we have in the district. So the red line is the amount of seats available in the district, and the blue line is the number of students. And you can see that the dotted blue line is actual enrollment, so what we've seen historically, and the blurred sort of light colored line is what we're projecting. I will flag that it's been difficult to project future enrollment right now due to the fact that the pandemic, we've seen these really big declines. So it's hard to know if students are leaving and coming back. Are they moving, outside of the city for good? It's some of that is unclear, and I think this year is going to be really telling to tell us like what is actually happening on the ground. So as you can see in District 15, there is we are at the point where we're seeing just enough seats, and we're predicted to kind of we're predicted to increase our amount of elementary school seats because of the new buildings coming online. Things like the addition at 32, the new school in Sunset Park, K671, and also longer term projects that are developer projects like that we'll talk about. So we're seeing that line go up and we're seeing this line go down. So we're right in the sweet, hopefully, but we're right in the sweet spot, and we're anticipated that there will be enough capacity and it will exceed the demand in the coming years. And then that's really green. Looking at middle school, it's a very similar trend, although middle school hasn't seen that same decline in enrollment. We're seeing an uptick, the red, we're seeing this uptick in capacity because there is going to be some new middle school seats coming to Red Hook. But yeah, we're really trying to, it's a hard prediction because sometimes the SCA and the School Construction Authority really has to plan these things out with projected enrollment. And so this is why, we're looking at the graphs that we're looking at, but given the enrollment trends and the new buildings that are coming, we do anticipate that once again, capacity will exceed demand in the district, not by a lot, but it will, meaning there will be enough seats for students in future years. The school building utilization, I'm going to kind of breeze through because I really want to focus on some other data points. But just so you know, this is a list of all the underutilized buildings in the district, and we define that by either a building having 150 or more seats that are empty, meaning like the amount of students who are in the school and the amount of students the building can serve. So we don't really focus on class size in that. We really talk about how many people, how many seats can the school serve? And this is a list of the overutilized buildings in the district. And we really just want to call out buildings that are over 100%, making a note that sometimes over 100% does not necessarily mean the school is very overcrowded, but it's over its utilization. So sometimes we have to really dig deep. This is just for us a starting point in terms of, okay, what are we seeing? Where is there overcrowding? And this is where we start, but we have to do a very deeper dive into a school and find out how they're programming, find out where they're keeping their kids, what does the whole landscape of the school look like before we, really address those overcrowding issues. Okay, so this is one place I want to stop and talk about, because as you can see from the new capacities, there is a lot of new capacities coming to District 15. I did just refer to what we're calling K671. That is the new elementary school building opening in Sunset Park on 5th Avenue. It's right across from the cemetery. Why am I blanking on the most famous cemetery in Brooklyn?
Greenwood Cemetery.
Greenwood, thank you. I don't know what the heck, I've been there all the time. I love it. So anyway, so a new school building's opening there. It's planned right now. We've had lots of conversations with the community. We had presented to Sunset Park, a lot of Sunset Park folks on an innovative new school idea that would have specialized programming, but be a truly inclusive school. I know a lot of folks on the call were at that meeting, and thank you for your support in attending. So that is the plan for that school right now. And I can talk a little, I might call on Anita to talk a little bit about the new school design process that all new schools go through in advance of them opening. So Anita, did you want to just really talk real quick about?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So there is a difference between the design process and the PAR process. The design process is exclusively for a new school that's opening. It begins with the selection of what is called the director, which is then it's done interviews collectively with the district and the central office. We interview about 4 or 5 people, and based on what the school is going to go forward to be, we select a person who has the best credentials. That's the most important thing. We take into consideration the community's needs, the focus of the school, and there is also very important that this is something that is going to serve a population that needs to be served. So that's the beginning of it. Then from there, the design team is formed, and it is formed from members of the community, potential parents in the school, potential teachers in the school, and they begin the process working with the central office of literally creating the structure of the school in terms of what are some of the curriculum pieces going to be? What are our criteria for classes? How are we going to work this out? They meet with SCA to see how they're going to utilize the rooms. They meet with the community to ensure that it is reflective of the community's needs. And there are people from the community on the design team. So this is the way it works for every single new school. This is different than the PAR process. When we did the PAR process in Subdistrict 3, it was very specific to outreach in the community about a rezoning. When we're thinking about the PAR process in Sunset Park, we're thinking about a global view of what the community wants to see for the schools in Sunset Park, and reaching out to all members of the community, all constituencies, and reaching out with people going to people. That is the PAR process. It is very different than the design team. They are two different processes. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. And I would just add that, we are going to be doing a PAR process in Sunset Park. And I think one of the unique opportunities here is that there are new buildings coming to Sunset Park. And there's also enrollment declines across Sunset Park that we wanted to, first of all, maybe unpack and hear from community members, like what is happening, what are the trends, but also hearing from folks, not just, from all the different parts of Sunset Park into what they want for their schools in Sunset Park, right? Because these buildings provide possible opportunities, some real genuine, and this is like long-term planning, right? There's also a building that will eventually be a middle school near Fort Hamilton Parkway. So thinking long-term, right? We want to sort of do this work before all of these things start happening. And so we're hoping that, led by Maddie Fox calling out, because she's on the call. Thanks, Maddie, for joining, that we'll be able to do this work similar. It's different in that it's open-ended. It's not coming in with an agenda like we had with the rezoning that we knew needed to happen. It's a more open-ended process this time. So I think that's exciting, and it's a unique opportunity. So thank you, Anita, for explaining that. I would just add that there are a lot of new capacities. So, I'm not going to talk through them all, but we can have another discussion, or if you have any questions about any of the buildings that are on here, I'm happy to answer them. I will call out that K680, which is on Delavan, is going to be the new building for the reconfigured PS676 in Red Hook. So once that's completed in 2025, the students will be moving there. And then we can have, further conversations about what's going to be in place of that building. And we are committed to a collaborative community process, just like we had for the rezoning. So that is a lot about our new capacities. This just talks about the transportable classroom units, what we call TCUs in District 15. There's only one left. I do want to just really briefly, because I know we're getting close to time, but I wanted to talk a little bit about District 75. So if you're not familiar with District 75, I don't know how, the new folks on the council, this is District 75 provides highly specialized programs for our students with significant challenges. And we're always, trying to elevate those students and find them the places they need. I will just show you that we are seeing a deficit of seats in District 15 on the elementary school level. So what we do in this analysis is we look at all the students who reside in District 15, who are District 75 students. And then we look at how many programs and how many seats in those programs are available. So that does not mean that these seats are empty if there's no District 15 students in them. It means that those are being filled by students outside the district, which is something that we see a lot happening in District 75. Students are traveling. But that is why we focus on this, because we want to try to provide as many District 75 seats as for the students there, in order to maybe reduce the amount of travel time kids have to do, because travel time is a hardship. So I just wanted to call out that we are continuing to see an elementary school seat need in District 75. And what's happening in terms of special class size increase, we're seeing an increase at the elementary school level, and it's kind of lying flat in terms of middle and high school. A little bit about demographics. So District 15 does serve a larger white percentage of students than the Brooklyn and citywide averages, and the fewer percentage of Black students, both city and borough-wide, from K through 8th. High school is a little different just because of the way students enroll and move around in high schools. What I did want to call out, there are a significant number of elementary schools that serve a diverse population in District 15. And a really good example of this is something that we just recently put into the data summary, which is what we call, it's an index of economic disparity. So really what this shows, it reflects the average point difference between what overall what the districts, in terms of overall the economic, the percentage of students that are economically disadvantaged in the district versus what it looks like at individual schools. So the higher the value on this means that there's more difference from school to school, meaning there's concentrations of students who are economically disadvantaged at schools, and then maybe schools there's very low concentrations and not a large percentage of students. And so if the index is lower, that means that there is less variation across schools. So if you look at the kindergarten index in District 15, it is extremely high. It's one of the highest in the city in terms of we're seeing schools with high concentrations of economically disadvantaged students. But if you're looking towards the 6th grade, you can see that at one point it was up high at 21% percentage point difference. And then after 2019, it dropped off sharply. And I point this out because this is a good visual to show you what happened in District 15 in the middle school process. So as many of you know, we unscreened all the middle schools in the district and created priorities for students of different demographic categories. My own daughter participated in this last year. I'm very happy to be part of this plan, and it really changed the demographic makeups of almost every school in the District 15. So that is why you're seeing that jump. And that's a real testament to some work that the district has done in terms of addressing the disparities, right? So that's an exciting thing. I think that where we need to kind of look at is what's happening in kindergarten. And I think we started to talk about that a lot with the rezoning and with the PAR project. Those issues came up a lot. So I just wanted to call that out. This is just, we're just looking at some demographics some data on students with disabilities, students who are English language learners, and students who are considered economically disadvantaged. So we have, about on par, 21% of District 15 students have an IE, qualify for an IEP. Looking at economically disadvantaged students, District 15 serves a lot lower percentage than the Brooklyn and citywide average. And looking towards our English language learners in D15, we're seeing, about the same percentage as the Brooklyn and citywide averages. I think I'm going to just pass by some of this other data. This is just information about how many schools we have, what breakdown from charter to district schools. And lastly, this is just our last slide on special programs. So looking at all the schools with ASD programs, with G&T in District 15, we can, if there are questions about particular schools that serve, that have special programs, we can answer those offline or at some point. But I think this, once you look at this and you do have other questions, I can follow up with that. And lastly, we have the beautiful map of District 15. Let me make it smaller so it all fits. Yeah, so that is my data summary. I think I'm about half an hour, which hopefully was a good time. I can stop sharing, but I can also go back and if people have questions. I can't see the chat when I'm sharing, so I'm going to just take the data summary off if that's okay with folks, and see if I don't know how, if Camille, you're going to have CEC's questions first.
I think Joe is going to handle the public comment and the comments from the CEC members. But if you could just talk about where the report would be posted, that would be great.
The report meaning?
This presentation, I'm sorry.
Oh, the presentation. I can share what, the data summary is publicly available. Jess, I don't know, are we posting data are we putting the data summaries?
We can find a way to do it, Anne. Why don't we chat and we can send a link out to the CEC so that you guys can share it with the community. That might be the best way.
Joe, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Do you have, what did we have on the agenda? Discussion and dialogue. Oh, okay. I think if anybody has any questions, we didn't separate it into public comment and CEC comments, but Anne is available to us. We learned that through the rezoning. She's amazing and accessible. And I know this packet is very large. So if you think about questions later and you want to send them to her, of course, please do that. But if anybody has any questions right now, I see Paulette has her hand up, and I will let Joe handle this because I am not the person that puts between this. Sorry.
All right. Thank you. Now we'll move to public comments. I'll do my best to get everyone in order. I think Zoom organizes. Usually we would have a line of physical people standing, so it's easy to tell who was first. So forgive me if I call you out of order. But after you've spoken, please lower your digital hand so I don't think you have a continued question. But Paulette Healy, go ahead. Unmute.
Hi, I actually saw Antonia raise her hand first, so I'm more than happy to let Antonia ask her question since she's a CEC15 member.
That's okay. We can do all the public comment first.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Thank you, Superintendent Scott, for explaining the new school design process for us, because it is something that we haven't heard before. And your explanation was great. I would appeal to you to please think about having an additional meeting specifically with the Sunset Park families, since it so intrinsically affects that particular population, and they are majority Spanish and Chinese speaking. So I think, even though we are offering translation during this meeting, I think having like a more localized meeting to explain exactly like how much input they would have in the process would be incredibly helpful. That being said, I appreciate all the information about 671. However, I don't see any information about the co-located D75 program that's going into the same building where 680 was. Because I do believe that was part of the presentation, and it just said D75 to be announced. So where are we on that? Is that going to be an elementary D75 setting as well?
No.
Okay. So then that would give us a bit more information, because it doesn't seem like there's any information about what kind of D75 programs going in there.
And do you want me to answer? Isn't this
You're talking
Biggie
about,
school?
Paulette, you're talking about the K680, which is going to be the new Red Hook Middle School site, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure that if it was going to be a new middle school site, that it would be D75 middle school seats as well.
That is correct. It is going to
Okay.
be a D75 middle school site. But at this point, because that is so far off in the planning cycle, and I'm a little new to how D75 gets cited, and maybe Jess can sort of chime in, but that will probably start, those conversations will start happening as we get closer to 2025.
Okay.
Can I just
all right.
add something also, please? So Paulette, your question in the chat when you were talking about kids being bused in different locations is such a good question. One of the things that is intrinsic to D75 is that it has a wide variety of very specific programs. So what Anne is talking about, we will have a middle school program in the middle school, the new middle school in Red Hook, but we at this point don't know what population that program will serve. It might be, for example, ASD, it might be children with physical disabilities, it might be a children who are blind, it could be any number of programs. And so consequently, that decision has not been made, but that also has an impact on why kids get bused, because D75 is very much about needs specific. So you may have a D75 program in a school that's 2 blocks from your house, but it doesn't serve the need of your child. And we have seen, I used to work in a school where they had kids literally who were bussed in on gurneys every morning in ambulances because there was a very specific D75 program in that school, but that program would not necessarily have been appropriate for another disability.
No, that I understand. I mean, I'm a D75 parent myself, so I'm
So there
very
you go.
familiar. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the different specialized programs we offer, and the breadth of disabilities that we support within the D75 community. So and I'm lucky enough to have an amazing principal in Heather Lakem, who is in your backyard as well
Oh
at
yeah,
MSCDA.
we love Heather.
So yeah, we love Heather too. So I do understand that, which is why I think the disaggregation of data that you presented today, Anne, in terms of like how many D15 residents are attending our D75 programs and how much of the population really is being bussed in. And I would really appreciate your partnership with Jess and with Jamie Dollender. I reached out to Jamie as well in the Brooklyn office about getting this data too, because I think citywide we need to understand why there's so many deficits and deserts when it comes to these specialized programs, and why there's such a need for our children to be bused all over the place. I mean, for a child from Queens to go all the way to the Bronx for a program because there isn't one in her own backyard is egregious. So, but I've been preaching to the choir for years about this. So I know that we're all very like-minded in terms of making sure that, we think about an inclusive and equitable process for our D75 kids. And I know that I've got great partners here to do that. It's just a matter of compiling the data and making sure that we're addressing the problems that we already know, and to make sure that with the buildings that are in our foresight, that that process is being taken seriously. So so you will be hearing from me for sure in every aspect of the word. And I'm going to yield the floor to Antonio, who I'm sure has an incredible question as well.
Do we want to just go through the public comments before we do the CEC member comments?
Yes, let's since we started this route, if we can do that. Thank you. I'll move to Dr. Darius Zawaslak.
Good evening and congratulations. I'm a member of CEC3, but also former member of CCLL, Citywide Council of English Language Learners. And I congratulations you all. So many beautiful, I see new schools, buildings. I'm jealous, let's say. And I'm here because also our Polish community asked me to, still advocating for starting Polish bilingual programs. So maybe I hope we find a place for this program in this or different schools. And well, let's be clear, also this will be opportunity not only for District 15 students, but also for District 20. And I hope this program could support our communities and be 17 from the new one program. From I see that you have already 16, so I hope we soon do this, and with superintendent support. I'm very happy that we are open Polish program in District 24. This is the second program, and this could be a third one, and I think the last one in New York City. Thank you for your support.
Okay, let's move on to the discussion, the CEC discussion.
Camille, do you want to ask a question, or may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Okay. Could we turn to page 27 in the report? It's under students in temporary housing.
Yep.
And
I could share. Would you like me to share my screen?
it's not necessary, but
Okay.
it's you can if you so schools serving elementary grades with 10% or more students living in temporary housing. Last year I represented a school, PS 124. There was a lot of conversation around this school and the number of students that it was taking from the shelters that were built across the street. And I'm curious, it's not listed.
Yeah, this actually came up with Anita too. So it is just under 10%.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it's really just barely under 10. And that was the cutoff. But to your point, yes, 124 does serve a fairly large population of students in temporary housing.
So what happened? I feel like there's this big question in my mind. Last year, there was so much conversation that this school would be nearly 30% students in temporary housing. And what happened? Was that just conjecture, or?
I'm not sure who, do you know? I mean, I think the issue is, like, first of all, this is not this year's, this is based on enrollment from last year. So so thinking about, it might be important to revisit at the end of this year and see where we're at in terms of the enrollment. But I also think that, I don't know who was it the principal that was concerned about that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I think it's, when you are a principal, the feeling of having your students, these students, what they represent in the community versus like a data point is a very different feeling. And so I'm wondering if that's also a factor, but I do think just pointing out that this enrollment data, I mean, this data is not, this is not showing what a snapshot of, 2022 is happening.
So this would be data from last November.
Yes, well, actually the data source is students in temporary housing from 2019-2020 school year.
So it's really, it's well before both shelters opened.
Okay, so this is really going to be a little bit not inaccurate, but
yeah, I mean, and I think that's the issue. It's a little tough with data because our data, it's not always going to be immediate. We can't always get the actual numbers. The Office of students in the temporary housing, like, we have to work with a lot of different agencies to get this data. So there is going to be a lag time, and that is unfortunate. But I'm going to make a note of this school, and I think if we can try to find more accurate
More
data and,
accurate
you
data,
know,
yeah.
seeing what, are you still the point at?
I am
122?
not currently the point man for that school, but I always like to know what's going on.
Mhm.
And my other question is, could we just quickly talk about the new site on President Street?
Mhm. The elementary school.
Exactly where it is and what grades it's going to serve, and it's obviously an elementary school.
Mhm.
Whi-
Yeah, so it's in Park Slope.
Okay, is it
It's
the
a
old
former Xavier,
Xavier? Okay,
right? School. It's fairly small. Actually, no, 475. They need to do I think a lot of work on the school. 475, it's funded as an elementary school.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's all I've got.
Can I just jump in on the new 2024 President Street Elementary School too? I think I saw a question in the chat about this as well, and this is quite a number of years off. And I think there will need to be a conversation between district planning and the CEC when it gets a little closer on, you know, plans for the school with the superintendent, of course, and potential zoning conversations as well. And so we will
Yes.
definitely stay in touch with you guys on that when it gets a bit closer, probably sometime next year.
I do see a question in the chat from Amy. I don't know if should I read it out or do you want to, are you guys still going?
I think we need to.
Oh no, you're muted, Camille, Antonia.
Joe, could you just go down the roll call of CC members and ask them if they have questions?
I think Tia.
Yes. Thank you. Camille, do you have questions or comments to add?
Yes, I'm just going to try to be very quick. I wanted to ask about the schools that are overcrowded and wondering if there's any conversation within the DOE to try to put some sort of cap on schools at say 115, 120%, because it just, you know, especially given the pandemic, all of this overcrowding is just not making any sense if we know that we have seats in other really fantastic buildings. And so many of our District 15 schools are within walking distance of one another. So, you know, I just want to kind of like shout that out. I think it's important to start talking about capping where we can. And then I guess if Maddie is still on the call, I was wondering, I heard about this amazing book called Street Data, and it sounds very much like it's mimicking or complementing the PAR process in many ways. And I was just wondering if you all had heard about it, and really excited to learn about the collection of data on the ground.
So Jess and I can answer the first question. You know, in some ways I'm relatively new to our office, and I have not actually, in terms of overcrowding, there is capping and overflowing. I'm not exactly sure how that process works, and maybe Jess can talk a little bit more about it. I know that in the past few years, we haven't needed to implement capping in any District 15 schools, which is a good thing. But and enrollments are continuing to decline, so that hasn't been the necessary. I'm not sure at what point that decision is made. I think that has to do with the amount of sections, right? Right, Jess, not the percentage of school utilization.
Yeah, exactly. You got it, Anne.
So, I mean, so, you know, we have, in the sense of the rezoning, we're really looking, and that was an example in the subzone in Carroll Gardens and Cobble Hill, we were looking to reduce the overutilization of those schools. So that meant making those school zones smaller and increasing zones of schools that either added seats or needed more enrollment.
Now, I'll also reemphasize a point Anne made earlier about, the utilization number being a starting point for us. We do see some schools, especially smaller schools, that are coming up as quite overutilized when really there is plenty of room in the building. When the denominator is smaller, it's going to make that utilization number look much bigger. I think we definitely want to think about ways to make sure everyone has access to school in a building that has space. And if Camille, I think if you have particular thoughts or, examples you have in mind, we'd love to discuss those further.
Sounds good. I want to apologize. I should have let you go. You've had your hand up for a while. And
oh, that's okay. Hi, thank you for this informative presentation. I guess I wanted to go back to something that you mentioned during the presentation about utilization not necessarily being equivalent to class size, or that class size isn't a consideration. And so I just wanted some help in understanding, how class size fits in with all of this, because, if you have a certain number of seats in a building, how do you, I mean, you're defining underutilization or overutilization based on the maximum number of seats allowed under chancellor's regs, I guess. But I mean, my child's class has 32 kids in it right now, and to me, particularly, since we've gotten all these federal funds, I understand that the city government has made a decision that they're not going to be using this money to reduce class size. I understand that maybe district planning can't really say, well, we're saying this classroom should only have 25 seats. Every classroom should only have 25 seats. So yeah, if you could help me understand that.
Yeah, and I think your last point was really what our office does not, we don't control the contractual allowance of class, how big a class can be, right? So what we look at when we're looking at this utilization of a building is the building capacity. Like every building has a capacity, just like every room, you go into an office building, it says capacity 240 people, right? So a building has a capacity of the amount of people it can serve, right? Which is different than the amount of students that can be in a class legally.
So it's like the number of people who could safely be in a building in terms of like fire codes and stuff like that.
Let me jump in, Tia. I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but I think it's important to kind of speak to the process here. So the utilization number, we start off with a number from the SCA from a document they produced called the Blue Book. And they are using in that document different max class sizes than the UFT contractual max. So I believe it's a class size of 20 for kindergarten and 25 in other elementary school grades. I don't have the middle school numbers handy, but we can certainly follow up on those. And as we often see larger class sizes. The DOE and the UFT have a contractual max of 25 students in kindergarten and 32 in the other elementary school grades. I think slightly lower at Title I schools. And so that's where some of that discrepancy lies. And so I think, it's unfortunate, right, that there is this little bit of disconnect between two city agencies, but I think it's important to point that out when thinking about and getting in the weeds on these utilization numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and so when you're saying, when you're talking, so you're looking at simply the building capacity, but I mean, for example, you know, if you're looking at a classroom that is sort of more flexible, um, you know, maybe an art room or a gym or something like that, um, you know, I guess you're accepting however the school defines the utilization of that space. So let's say it's a science lab, that doesn't count as like a seat because that you don't have kids permanently in that room, so that you know, how does that space figure um into whether you have decided a seat is in a building or not, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, only, regular instructional classrooms are getting a capacity. And so you mentioned an art room, you mentioned a science lab, an auditorium, a gymnasium. Those are shared spaces and they don't have capacities that are included in that kind of building utilization number. That being said, there are certainly schools that will program regular classes in those spaces. And schools can kind of use their space as they need to meet the needs of their students.
Right. So it's really like a principal's decision whether they pack 32 kids into a classroom and then have like a separate room that is only utilized for certain very specific things. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Let's see. I have Vincent. Do you have any comment or questions?
No, at this moment. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. Nana?
Yeah, thank you. I just have one minor comment, and Annie and Jess, great report. This is something that is really of importance to me when it comes to diversity in District 15. So when I looked at the report that you sent from K to 8, right, that was great, but I guess we all knew that there was going to be some sort of a drop off when it came to, you compared it to 6 just because of the diversity plan that took place a couple of years ago. But what I'm hoping was that maybe we can really focus on the K to 5, right? Maybe if there's a data, I'm going to spend some time with the rezoning plan because that is where we see a really stark contraction as compared to the middle school, right? And for me, why it's critical is if kids really start off on the wrong foot, right, it's really hard for them to catch up during the middle school ages. So it's important that the kindergarten stages and the early stage, pre-K and the early stages, we really start critically looking at that and really see that, what is really broken. And I think that data is going to be really of an interest to a lot of parents, especially for me. Just knowing the stark contrast of District 15 when it comes to diversity from the early periods till the 5th grade. So I really pretty much like to see that. If there's a way that there's a report that I can look at that, and we can be able to address that, as part of the rezoning process as well. I know that that's all part of it, but the K to 5 data is going to be really important to me.
And I think to your point, Nana, like there is, with all of these new buildings that are coming to the district, like there is, asking you all and just thinking, are there opportunities to, reduce that economic disparity index in the K through 5th level? That is a bigger question that I think we have time to talk about, but it would mean shaking things up and moving things around in ways that folks haven't always been open to, but I think is worth, really thinking about again. It worked in middle school. The question is, can it work in elementary school? And I think that's your point. So we can definitely have more conversations and provide more data around elementary school, demographics, breakdowns at different schools. It is in the data summary, sort of the basic, ethnic categories, and demographics, race, ethnicity, but if you have like particular questions at each school, and I also think we need to really see what happens with the rezoning and see what this shakes out over the next, 3 to 5 years, and see if that increases with the diversity in admissions and allowing students from different parts of the district to come to schools that were traditionally not accessible.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you.
Alfred, comment or question?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan?
Yes, hello. And I was thinking, this new 7 schools, if you have any comments or experience with the public, with the people that live in these areas. There has been any work, it will have some component, or any comments in that particular issue of people living in this area?
You're referring to the new capacity that are coming to District 15?
Yes.
So they're opening in a lot of different neighborhoods, and I would just say that at least one of them is going to be already planned for a pre-K center. So that is like a funding that we, there's a need for pre-K seats, and that will be coming to the district on 8th Street. There's the Sunset Park, the 3 buildings that are opening in Sunset Park. And those are, where we're kind of spending a lot of time with the park project and the new school design, talking about that. And Maddie might be able to talk a little bit more about what the plan is for Sunset Park engagement, but the conversations are just starting to happen. And in terms of the one building that's going to be the Red Hook Middle School is already spoken for, but I think we're going to definitely be having conversations about District 75 and what kind of program is going to be there when it gets closer to the time. That's going to not open till 2025. And then the last project on there is the, we call it 80 Flatbush, but it's the school on Skirmahorn that is planned right now to serve a high school, Khalil Gibran High School, which, so it's planned for that high school. And then there's a small elementary school also planned for that building, but that's a developer site. So that is still to be determined when it's going to be opened. And yes, we can also start those conversations and hear what folks would like to see in an elementary school that would be opening very close to PS 38. But yeah, we haven't had any like specific conversation. Like there's a lot of different conversations going around is what I should say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jared.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Do you have a comment or a question, Jared?
I mean, the data was pretty good, I thought, and it made sense to me. The only comment I'd have is regarding Tia's earlier question about class size. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure if that's speaking as a student, I'm not entirely sure class size in itself is an issue, especially since the state said the state mandated minimums were 20 and maximums were like 20 or 25, which is, in my opinion, well, at least low for high school students. And I find even with larger classes that teachers are always available if you speak and ask them to help with the topic. So in regarding that, I think a 20 and 25 class size is perfect. And I'm not sure we, need to address that in a sense.
And I just would add that I believe those numbers that Jess shared were for elementary school, the 20 and 25. I'm actually not sure what the contractual max is for. Oh,
I just put a link in the chat that has the UFT contractual maxes for every grade span.
Thank you, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really helpful, Jared. Your perspective as a student is very valuable.
Yes, thank you. And unless any CEC member has a follow-up question, we can move forward. let's do that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So next, Anne, thank you. Jess, thank you. Nice to meet you. Look forward to working with you guys again in the future. And of course, many, many congratulations to Max and his family and new baby. So.
I will tell him as much if I run into him in the neighborhood. So thank you very much. Thanks for having us. We look forward. And I'm going to pop my email one more time. I mean, Camille, Antonia, Nancy, they all know where to reach me. But I'm going to just pop in my email again. Okay. And then, yeah, have a great night. I'm looking forward
Thanks so
to
much,
my
everyone, for having us.
report.
Thank you. Okay, so next on our agenda is Superintendent Scott. She's going to give us the D15 report, and I believe Steve is here with us, and he is going to assist with the presentation. Thank you so much, Steve. Superintendent Scott, take it away. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I am delighted to come. I have a brief presentation because Annie and I had talked, so I knew that this would be lengthy. So I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest condensed version. I know how busy the meeting is, but it's still meeting. So first and foremost, I want to go to the next slide. And that is welcoming our new student member, Jared Moser. We're very excited. We have been waiting a long time on the CEC to have a student member, and your perspective is so valuable. So thank you, Jared. We really appreciate you for doing this. Next slide. Okay. As many of you know, there was a lot of drama around the mayor's vaccination mandate and the state vaccination mandate. And it went through a lot of iterations. It went through, first there was a lawsuit at the state level. And then there was a lawsuit at the city level that stopped it. And then we were told that it would take a little while until we heard. And then literally the same day we heard that the 3-judge panel had reviewed the information and that they could go ahead with it. But the city had determined that they would give the rest of this week for staff to have the option to go and get vaccinated. Now, I want to be very clear what the ruling is. All school staff must be vaccinated. This includes teachers, paras, school aides, administrators, parent coordinators, secretaries, guidance counselors, OT and PT providers, speech teachers, anybody in that category. In addition, it includes kitchen staff, school safety personnel, and custodial staff. Anybody who is working in a school building, go back please. Anybody who is working in a school building must be vaccinated. And what is going to happen is they will have the next few days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to make a determination. All unvaccinated staff must have proof and upload it to the DOE vaccination site. They must upload at least one dose by 11:59 p.m. this Friday night. They then have 45 days to submit their second dose if it is a 2-dose vaccination. If it is Johnson & Johnson, they only have to upload the one. If staff fail to accomplish this or decide that they don't want to accomplish this, they will come off of payroll as of Monday morning. They are offered 2 options. They have to make a decision by 11:30. they can either go on unpaid leave for the entire year and maintain their health coverage for the entire year, or they can take a buyout by November 30th, which would give them all their sick days, all their vacation days that they're owed, and they would take it in a lump sum. So there's two, it's a choice piece. Now we can go to the next slide. So we in District 15, and I'm not telling tales out of school, I'm just giving you a sense of it. We have one school that is already at 100%, and that's MS 443. We have 29 schools that are in the 90 to 98% range. And we have 6 schools that are in the 80 to 89% range, and one school that's almost at 80, literally a few decimal points. All of these numbers are increasing because one of the things that has happened is that there were people who were on maternity leave, who are still on the register, who were still being considered as part of the percentage. So I'll give you a really good example that had to do with the superintendency. We had, when I went through my administrators list, and by the way, all of our principals are vaccinated. When we went through the list, there were people on the list who were retirees who were still on the list. So they had to come off the list, and that impacts the percentage. So I have to say kudos to the teaching staff and all the staff members of District 15. They're working very hard, and they have really carried the ball beautifully. Next one. I wanted to review, because I know it's a concern, the COVID protocols in school. So first of all, there is a school visitor policy that now says that anybody coming into a school must show proof of at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccination. This does not include the students in the school, and it does not include emergency situations. Okay? If you remember the very first day of school and the first couple of days, parents bringing in tiny ones did not have to show proof of vaccination. But at this point, families are saying, yes, they have to show. And this is a very legitimate reason, because when you will see, and when we talk about physical distancing, one of the other pieces is trying to have as few people exposed to one another as possible. And so that's why this is such a stringent piece. Just so you know that parents can upload their own students' vaccination status to the DOE's portal. So if you have children who are 12 and up and they've been vaccinated and you want to confirm it in the portal, please do so. This is very important. The linchpin between vaccinations and heavy use of PPE and cleaning and ventilation, all of these pieces combined. But one of the most important things, as was discussed by the CEC, Dr. Fauci, everybody, is the use of face coverings, specifically masks, when riding buses or on school property. And I want to say that this includes inside and out. And this is anybody, whether they're vaccinated or not. So you can be a fully vaccinated teacher, you still have to wear a mask if you are in a school setting, and indeed in any DOE building. So when I go to 131, I have to have a mask on. When I go into a school, I have to have a mask on. This is true for everybody. And I have to say, I was in a school today, and the little pre-K kids were the cutest thing, and they were all wearing their masks, not a complaint among them. So they are really doing a great job of encouraging the kids and supporting the kids. We are very cognizant that kids need support, and they have opportunities to take an individual mask break if they need one, if it's a question of adjusting to a mask. But most kids have done an incredible job with this. The last thing is the physical distancing. And you know that we went from 6 feet last year to 3 feet. And the best, if you can do 3 feet, is the most important thing. They ask that you maintain a physical distance of 3 feet, such as when schools cannot fully reopen to maintain this distance. What they are saying from the CDC is that it is more important for kids to be back in school with masks, with vaccinations if they're old enough, with vaccinated teachers, with keeping pods of kids together in elementary school. All of these things are key, and they have an impact. And schools have worked very hard and are really trying to ensure that there is 3 feet between kids. And I saw today in the school, even the little ones, when they were walking, they did something called the pre-K train, where they stood 3 feet apart and walked with one teacher at the back and a teacher in the front and the school aide in the back. And so it was just, this is what they do. I'm going to be honest and tell you that I think it's easier with the younger kids than it is with the older kids, because the older kids are coming back with a more socialized perspective and they want to hang together. But we are working it. We are working very, very hard, and we are continuously monitoring this. So this is a big focus for the chancellor. It is a big focus for the deputy chancellor, for the BCO, and we are continually working to ensure that we are doing the best possible job with this that we can. Next slide. We have a few new principals. Some of them you may have heard, some of them you may have not. So Layla Rashid at 154 is doing an incredible job. I've had the opportunity to visit her school and to meet with her. She did an amazing job. She literally walked into summer school the day it started and ran summer school and was just incredible. And she's doing a beautiful, beautiful job at 154 and is very well respected. Joanna Cohen has taken over for Eve Litwack at 107. And she is also incredibly capable, incredibly focused, and doing a great job. And the last one is the most recent one. And that is Emily Hurst, the assistant principal who had done such a stellar job. I don't know if you remember, many of you do. Unfortunately, there was a huge fire across the street from 169 several years ago. And it was at a time where Principal Tang had been hit by a truck in the city and was undergoing surgery. And Emily led the charge, and I got more compliments from the emergency services people who were using the school as a headquarters about the way the school was run, about the support they were given. It was just incredible. I was there till 11 o'clock at night. She was there. The team was there, and the next morning, everybody was there supporting kids, caring for kids, working with kids, and it was remarkable. So Emily is the new interim acting at 169. Jin has gone on to work at the central office. So we wish her luck, and we know that Emily will do a great job going forward. Next slide, please. This is Hispanic Heritage Month. And I thought, instead of focusing on people who are very famous for being hero, which will be happening in schools, I wanted to focus on the unsung heroes of our district who are of Hispanic heritage. And I'm sure I'm leaving out tons of people because I only did principals. And I'm sure I'm going to leave somebody out. I guarantee it, because I was racking my brain. But first and foremost, as Camille did, I want to shout out Christina Gonzalez, who was an AP at 94 and took the reins and is a visionary leader, and was gracious enough to always support us with translation and literally dazzled the BCO because we had translation in an hour when you have to wait days sometimes. I want to shout out Wanda Lopez Ramirez, PS1, who also was an AP and took the reins and has created an atmosphere of love and caring, but also of expectation and possibility that is just wonderful. I must shout out Amanda Bueno at MS 136. Amanda took a school that was in many ways the school that people didn't want to send their kids to, and has turned it into a place where people love her, love the curriculum, is doing amazing things, is supporting a dual language program in 3 languages, is just remarkable. And then wonderful Ruth Rodriguez at 896 at St. Agatha's for now, and hopefully soon to go to the Seatown site where they will expand. And that's the school that Annie was talking about when she talked about a school growing. Ruth is an extraordinary leader. She is thoughtful and caring and incredibly smart and incredibly reflective, and does an amazing, amazing job. And she has taken that little school and created an environment where kids are learning, where teachers are learning and working together and creating a collaborative culture that parents love. Next, I have to highlight somebody from my staff. Cynthia Lascano is now considered the principal of Little Brooklyn Pre-K. There was a change in title. Originally, she was the director of early childhood. They are now considered principals, which is long in coming, and we're so proud of her. And if you've seen Little Brooklyn Pre-K, it is just a joy. It is really a joy to see our little ones. We have special needs classes, we have 3K. We're very proud of this. So good job, Cynthia. Thank you. And lastly, and certainly not least, for the principals, Maria Diaz. It is hard to imagine anybody with more energy than Maria Diaz in that tiny little frame. She is the Energizer Bunny with a heart as big as she is. She cares about every single child. She knows every single child. And all of these ladies are a model for others. I want to say that I could not begin to write the names of all the APs because I knew I would leave people out, but we have incredible APs of Hispanic heritage, and we're so proud of them. And they're literally the next generation of leaders. They're phenomenal, and we're grateful for all of them. And last, I have to shout out 2 people in my office. I literally could not run the district if it wasn't for Brenda Diaz, who is beyond incredible. She is the rock of my office, and she is just always there to help people, incredibly respectful in any situation, and always, always willing to help anyone. And then there's Franny, who we stole from the CEC and who is just amazing. There was a reason that they hired her, and there was a reason I hired her. And we love her, and she's just phenomenal. And we just appreciate every one of these leaders because they are, and they serve not only as leaders, but they serve as role models. They are what our children see, who speak their language, who look like them, and who can tell the stories that they can relate to. So bravo to the incredible leaders of Hispanic heritage in District 15. And next slide. And that's it, questions or comments. I do want to say that at the next meeting, we will be discussing assessments, and I will also be having a superintendent's soup with the soup in October that will discuss assessments as well.
All right, please raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question. This is for the general public of Superintendent Scott. I will, one last call. I will move forward to CEC members. Comments and questions. Camille?
I do not have any comments or questions. I thank you so much for this presentation and thank you for celebrating our leaders in such a lovely way.
Yeah. Antonio?
Thank you so much, Anita. I just want to add one more principal to your list. Principal Figueroa.
Of course. How could I forget Figgy? Oh my God. She's gonna kill me. You knew I was gonna forget someone.
I didn't want to let her go unacknowledged.
You cannot even begin to talk about Figgy because she's incredible. This is a woman, when they talk about the legendary turnaround principal. She is the legendary turnaround principal. She's incredible.
Yes. That's it. That's my only comment.
Thank you. Tia?
Hi, Anita. Thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to ask, I know you were talking about doing a diversity plan update presentation, and I was just wondering what the timeline was on that.
So in all honesty, we've been speaking with WXY, but there has been so much going on that we haven't been able to touch base in September. I will reach out to them next week in terms of this, but I will tell you also, I was so excited when we got the grant, but I never realized the amount of accounting that went with this money. And so in order for WXY to work with us, they have to go before the PEP. And that is not going to happen until I think November. That doesn't mean they can't start the work, which they have already started, but it also means that they have to get the approval to be paid for the work. So I'm not going to say to you that I'm going to have it for you in 2 weeks, but I would hope that we would have something by November, the beginning of November.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you for that answer. Vincent?
Yes, hi, Anita.
Hi, Vincent.
I think I raised a question about situation room in the
Yes.
email. I'm wondering if there's any update. It does seem
Yes.
like we're no longer getting those emails. I get a lot of email last school year, but it seemed that I stopped getting those emails.
So I checked my records for you and for your school for 94. And as far as what I've been sent, I've only been sent one this year. And it's the one from, it just recently happened, 9/23. So I'm happy to check with them. It's not that easy to get through to them, but I'm happy to check with them in terms of saying, oh, were there any other things? I'm going to call Christina, actually, she'll know.
Yeah.
But I think that they have sent it out. I don't know if they didn't send it out, but I know that we've been getting them, but there haven't been as many cases as there were in the beginning of last year. So I think that may be part of it. The other thing is that the situation room rules changed, as you know, and that we discussed at the last meeting, that before it was that if there was a child, in the classroom, then they closed the classroom. Now they're not doing that as of September 27th. And what they're doing is if there are not sufficient, if there are not really close contacts, less than 3 feet for an extended period, that they are not closing the classroom and they are not considering it a close contact. So there are less classroom closures, and that may have something to do with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I did actually get an email from my school, PS94, from the school staff who manually send out those emails.
Right.
But I think it would be helpful to get those automated email notification. That's why I was expecting one for the so I know about the cases, but I was expecting one from the situation room, but still I haven't get those notifications. So I think a lot of parents didn't get it for the school year as well. So I think that if there are any changes on the situation room that somehow they change the notifications email, I think that's better for a parent to be informed what to expect and what not to expect.
Absolutely. And what I've noticed, Vincent, over the past, I want to say this specific week, is that I've started to see way more of the notifications that you're talking about. So maybe there is a change now back to that.
Okay. Yeah, if there's any contact information, maybe you can share. Perhaps I can reach out, see if there's any change on their email notifications and like policy.
I'll find out for you. I will
procedure.
absolutely get back to you.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful because many other parents also experience the same as mine. So perhaps once I can share with them what was really going on and what they should expect going forward. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for that, Vincent. Nana, questions or comments?
Hi, Anita. Thank you very much for your report. Very thorough as always. I don't have any questions. Just to piggyback on Vincent's comment, I don't receive one either for both schools that my kids are in. So it may be a wider issue. So in case there's any feedback, I'll be interested in knowing that as well.
I will follow up. Nana, what schools are you talking about, please?
So it is Morrison PS 118 as well as BHS.
Okay, I'll look and see. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's a comment saying PS 321 as well. Not
interesting.
Yeah, Alfred, questions or comments?
I don't have any, but thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Ivan?
Yes, thank you, Anita. As usual, you're great with all the information that you have. And my only question was when the soup was gonna start. So now that we know that in October you're gonna have the soup with the superintendent. So thank you.
And then Jared, question or comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Superintendent Scott for the presentation and the welcome. It was well put together, and I thought it was nice how you kind of told us more about the heritage of people and the accomplishments of people we really might not have known of otherwise.
Thank you.
Thank you. And unless anyone from CEC has anything additional to add, I will move forward.
There was a hand with Yavin Sang.
Yes, I have a question for Anita.
Sure.
Hi, Anita. This is Yan Fan. I'm from Songseper. My kids attend PS 94.
Yes.
And I have Asian community is a domination Songseper schools. I just wondering to know. Things like the PS 169 again, new leader in the 169 and PS 94. They don't have no more Asian culture like the manager team in the school. Like PS 94, they have 3 Spanish 3. We total have 4 AP, 1 principal. But no Asian culture AP in our PS 94. But which is the PS 94 population is over 68%. And the other one thing, in PS 94, we have 3 parent coordinator, 2 Spanish speaker, and 1 Mandarin speak. So I just wondering to know, and can you promote more people like that have a Asian culture and no more Asian, background, and to build up more relationship between parents and schools, and then especially right now it's COVID. We need some more, school can or we can do more build our relationship with families. That is my big concern. And the P169, the Jim, I know she's great principal. I don't know what happened to her, just, suddenly just gone back to DOE.
So I'll explain to you.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
I
okay.
can't-
I know
It
it.
was her decision. It's not my decision. She was not
Yeah.
removed, or it wasn't, she was encouraged to leave. She called me and she said she was moving to work at the central office. So
I know
that's
a lot
what I
about
found.
detail and that kind of thing. What happened to our Sunset Park Asian before, whatever. Our school have one wonderful gentleman, William Wu. She moving to here and go back to it. It's a lot of things happened to this community. I don't know what happened to those wonderful past person to move out Sunset Park. I just wondering too. Please, we need build a more relationship with the those like Asian community, Asian parents too. It's unequal, it's unequal to those families. We have a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of have something misgap between those kind of lot of things, because I just wonder if in the future, if you can consider as a lot of parents have a those kind of thinking, it is a lot of gap for those kind of things happen in Sunset Park school.
So thank you for bringing this up. I have to say in all honesty that we are not allowed to hire specifically, I'm going to say this the right way.
No, I know. I mean, Asian background, Asian culture. I didn't say
absolutely.
Let me be Asian,
I know exactly what you're saying. And the thing is that we are trying, that I love having Jin in the school, and that I love having as much diversity as possible. And we are trying very hard to do that. And if, these are interacting principles, I'm not saying they're not good, they're fantastic. But I'm also saying that we are trying very hard to meet the needs and maintain Asian culture in the community. And if you're talking about language, if you need more support with translation, we can certainly work on that. And
no, it's not only the translation, that kind of like me. Sometimes I go to school, but my personality is kind of in my culture is kind of hyper. But if the people understand me, they know me, well, they just talking sometimes like that. But if some people didn't know me, they kind of, wow, what do you want me to do? It's kind of like fighting, that kind of thing. So that is my big concern, those kind of things. And make people, because they have the same language spoke, make parents feeling welcome. It's good for you guys for enrollment. I know that every school is kind of low, decreasing the enrollment right now.
Yeah, it's problematic, but and you raised something that I think is really important. And what I'm listening to you talk, you're saying something that's bigger than just culture. It's about sensitivity training so that people understand that different cultures have different protocols and different ways of doing things. And that is something that I will make sure happens, that we can bring in for all principals to be more sensitive, for all parent coordinators to be more sensitive, so that the families can be more comfortable in talking to them, even if they speak their language. I get it. And we will follow up. Absolutely.
You see, like the PS94, 68% Asian, 3 Latino AP, 1 white. So it's kind of a lot of misrepresent for me, for my aspect. So I just wonder, I don't know. I try to do my best to speak in here, and then people to understand. I wonder. So when you hiring, when you have some position or whatever in Sunset Park School, like you can get a lot of opportunity to some people know here the population they have no more Asian background or Asian culture, those kind of thing.
Yeah, Fan, this is Vincent. Thank you so much for the I'm from PS94 as well. So I think that what Fan tried to say is that with communication, there's translation is good, but a lot of time translation does not translate everything. A lot of stuff get lost. It's not because incompetent of a translator. It's because that's how it is. It's a culture. It's a lot in the language. You can use different word to to express different feeling, and these just cannot be substituted with additional translator. And what Yefan just said is that we have 68% population student that from Chinese from family. We primarily speak Chinese Mandarin, but with the support they're getting, it's not equitable. And I think that we family need more support, and we can start from somewhere. And basically, we are asking if we can commit to some kind of timeline, any sort of plan that we are targeting, have at least one executive, at least one personnel in executive role that actually has some kind of Asian background and comprehend in Asian or Mandarin language. I think this could be the first step.
Okay, we'll look into it, Vincent. We will.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to move the discussion forward to our next topic. If this topic, and it sounds like it does, needs more energy behind it, we please strongly encourage you to email us your thoughts, and we can take up this issue, along with you. We're eager to do that. Let's move forward.
I just want to acknowledge the comments that so many people from PS94 have just made, and I thank you so much for coming. I truly understand the frustration that you are facing. We faced it earlier today, just feeling like the environment is not as welcoming as it could be because of not having access to people who speak the same language. And I want to share with you all a resolution that CEC15 had passed earlier in the year. It was a resolution on language supports for non-English speaking families. We have it translated into Chinese language, courtesy of Yan Fang, who is a former CEC15 member. She was incredibly active when she was on our council, and she remains active and committed to the community. So very happy to know her and people like her who are out there really fighting the right fights and trying to bring communities together. So thank you so much. I'm very happy to reopen our resolution and add more to it. So if you have any thoughts, please feel free to share them at any time. Or thank you for being available for questions. and I wish you a lovely evening, and we will talk soon. Next on our agenda is the high school superintendent report. Our Brooklyn North High School Superintendent Janice Ross is here with us tonight, and she had others from her staff, Deputy 2, who had to drop off the call, and just Jen Goldberg, who is normally here with us doing the presentation, and this evening Greg Hagan is here with us as well. So thank you so much for coming and bringing your staff and taking the time to meet all of our new CEC members.
My pleasure, absolutely my pleasure. I know we're running a little bit for time-wise, but if you don't mind, I just have to share a quick video of some of our schools. It includes some of 15, all of the high schools. So Greg has it's a 30-second video of the first day of school, showing you what we did in Brooklyn North. And then I just have a brief presentation of some data to share with all of you around D15 high schools. So Greg, are you able to share?
I am trying right now. It's actually Zoom is giving me a bit of problem, which I don't know why. Hang on one second. I apologize. I thought it was all set up.
And so while Greg's doing that, I'm just going to, my name is Janice Ross. I'm the Brooklyn North High School Superintendent. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you today. Camille, thank you for always including us, and Superintendent Anita Scott. It is a pleasure to work alongside of you as you handle the K-8 scholars and we take over to the high school. So here's our little video. Again, it's 1 minute and 15 seconds. So the first day of school, we took some selfies, obviously, and some shots of the schools. That is Principal Badette and I from District 19. So as you can see, we were able to visit all 47 high schools the opening day, and we were very, very proud of all of the homecoming events that our schools did. And you can see some of the D15 schools that were in there. So again, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you throughout the next couple of months. We'll be switching on and off. Myself, my deputy, and my field support liaison, Terrence Paulin, will be with all of you as we share a brief deck with you, a little bit about high schools. As I mentioned to Camille, if there's anything specific that you want us to do prior to the month that we're coming on, please let us know and we'll have that information for you. So Brooklyn North High Schools operates under the pedagogy of critical love. And if you have been at any of our meetings or had been to any of our presentations, you know that we are all about love and how we show up, how love shows up in our schools. That was the first day of school. We shared a little bit of our pictures. These are our goals. They are in line with ES Watts's goals. And then D15 principles are aligned to our goals. So it's a cascading impact of goals where they start from central, they go to ES Watts, to the superintendencies, and down to the principals. These are District 15 high schools. We're very proud of our D15 high schools. We've seen a tremendous growth in many of our schools. And It is really our goal to be at 100% graduation rate. And you can see Millennium actually has gone 100% at some point. And we've had grad rates in our other schools go up, and digital arts and cinema technology was at 97% this year. And again, John Jay School for Law went up to 85%. Sunset Park is at 87, and majority of all of our high schools are moving up, and we believe it's due to the pedagogy of critical love and the work that we're doing in our schools around equity and access and resources. So some of the partnerships we're doing this year, we're super excited about the work that we continue to do with Donnell Dickey, Dr. Goldie Muhammad, which is our culturally responsive, historically responsive education, Dr. Tatiana Klein, who is a well-renowned professor who works with our L's and our literacy, along with Dr. Dickey, who also supports with the literacy and curriculum and instruction, Dr. Maurice Sinet, who works with our SEL and MBK, the Chrysalis Project that works with our MSK, Inspiring Minds. Think Law is a new program, that partnership that we're working with, again, supporting our CRSE. This year we have leadership coaching from Dr. Maria Akinule and Dr. Sabrina King. She's the former Chief Academic Officer for the New York City Department of Education. Both of them are supporting our principals around equity and how equity shows up in their schools, and supporting a anti-racist school and supporting anti-racist leaders. And then this year, we're proud to say that Black History 365 will be across all of our schools in a pilot program where we're supporting each of our schools with one course across the entire building for all students in Brooklyn North High Schools to be a part of. And then we'll be moving to a Latinx course, the AAPI community. So we'll be pushing those in as we go. It's really finding the right curriculum and the people that we feel are worthy of our schools. So we're moving on to our next ambition. So this would be pushing in different types of curriculum across the students that we serve in Brooklyn North. This is our year-to-date attendance. We are below, and we're working on that. That is something that we've seen these last 2 weeks. It's been a little bit difficult, we know, with some of the remote options not being available. And so this is something that we track daily and are taking very seriously. So please know that this is something that we're working on and making sure that again, that our goal is 100%. We proudly had our first parent event last night. And I know CEC15 President Camille did a great job in sending it out. I do apologize. We did not do very well with the translation last night and these forms. We reached out to translation. For some reason, they were on with us. We were unable to get them on. And just for no other, I cannot say we need to do better with that. And I do apologize. We will make sure that moving forward never happens again. So this is our beautiful community letter that you all get. We try our best to make sure that we get all of our schools to be a part of that. And we get a letter and some information from each school across all the schools, and then it comes out in our community newsletter.
As we usually say in all of our meetings, if there are people present at this meeting that would like to be added to our mailing list, just pop us an email either to my email, which is ghagan, GHAGIN @schools.nyc.gov, or you can send a request to our parent info email. Whoops. Let's see if I can go back to that. There we go. To bknhsparentinfo@gmail.com.
And then
we
we
will
also
gladly add you to our mailing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. And just the Brooklyn North High School website, which has a family component. And that's it. I think our most, for me right now, our attendance is something that's really important to us in D15. And that's what we're working very closely with. So I'm open for questions, and any comments or anything you'd like to ask? Thank you, Greg.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. We'll move to public comment. Please raise your hand and let us know if you have a question regarding the high school report. One
No, I
last-
see Rachel writing in the chat.
Okay.
She may or may not be able.
Gotcha. Where is it? Well, the CEC and the D15 make sure that parents know they have the right to opt their children out of the MAP assessment as they have done with the state tests.
And that answer is yes, we will.
Thank you. All right, any last call for public comment on this, and we'll move to CEC discussion. Let's do that. Camille, question?
I was thinking that it might be nice to let Jared ask the question first, because he is, after all, our high school student and is definitely very connected to this information. Jared, sorry to put you on the spot there.
No, it's okay. Actually, I thought the presentation was fairly well done, to be honest. There was nothing really that I took issue with. I thought the information was clear and concise and it made sense to me. If there's any specific questions you have for me, though, I'd be happy to answer in that respect.
So I'm just here, I'm just so happy that Jared is with us, and Jared, you and I should sort of maybe collaborate a little bit, and we can have you share some of the specific things that are going on with your schools, and even connecting you with some of the other students in our other schools, so you can be a part of this high school share out as well too, and welcome and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'd be happy to do that.
I'll connect the two of you offline. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Camille.
I see that Fang has a question.
What is MAP assessment?
For me, you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So MAP growth assessment is a screener that we're providing across all of New York City, citywide, for students to, it's really for us to see where our children are at this point and to support them moving forward. It is an exam, an assessment, if I may, that measures where they are currently so that schools can do their best to meet the students' needs. I think that we're coming off of 18 months of just really inconsistent education, and we need to know where our children are. So for me, I think it's a great opportunity for teachers to see where their students are, measure them, and move forward. So it's not a state exam. It's not an exam. It's just a screener so that we can create lessons and units and curriculum and meet children where their needs are.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
And thank you, Camille. Perfect. I couldn't say it better myself.
Camille.
It was a cut and paste. So I just want to elevate saying she is a high school teacher. I'm not sure if she teaches high school in District 15, and that isn't really that important, important to the question, but she's saying teachers do not see the questions the children get right or wrong, so it actually does not help them see where the kids need help in a specific way. And then I would just add to that, in my child's school, I believe they're only doing math and ELA.
Math and ELA, yes. Mhm.
Is that all that's being done?
Not in all schools, but some are choosing to work with math and ELA, as those are the ones that support in moving forward in terms of everything across all subjects. So yes, we are doing math, and some of the schools have just decided to focus on math and ELA in supporting with college readiness, as we know that is the two that are looked at from the New York City and state.
Okay, I'm so sorry I shut my video off. It was because my screen was flashing, internet unstable. But I am very curious about how this MAP assessment works, because I'm surprised to hear that the teachers are not able to see where the children are getting questions right or wrong. I thought that was the entire intent of what these diagnostic exams were. I mean, it just, like, from what the description is on the internet, it just sounds like a way to, I mean, I just can't believe it. It sounds like we're just sorting children again.
I'm not sure where that information is coming from. I can get you more information on that. I know that it's useful, they're useful reports for data-informed decisions. They're standard aligned reports that put information that teachers need, reliable insights that make it simple for teachers to do differentiation, develop interventions, and see where students are and where they're ready to learn next, right? Higher level reports. So I'm not familiar with that comment, but that is someone that wrote something in the chat. I would need to look into that further. It's really it's teachers confidentially tailoring instruction to challenge every student, right? And to see where they are below or above grade level.
Okay, I mean, maybe the next time you all, you could bring an example of what.
I can absolutely bring an example, and perhaps we can even bring somebody from that group to answer some of your questions.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Vincent. Thanks, Ian, for bringing up that question about MAP assessment. I personally not aware of that assessment either, and I could see that just like any other assessment, I'm making an assumption here. It's just like any other assessment where it group knowledge into different topics, and perhaps if parent does, if child does good at certain topics, so which means that they probably do better, get a higher grade in certain group, and other group, let's say in certain fundamental, they're not doing better, and they're probably doing, they gain less lower score on that category. I think that in this way, teacher may still able to see like achievement, academic achievement of particular student without actually see the answer of each particular question. That's what I can envision. I can think of as with any other exam. Just my quick comment.
So let me be clear. A MAP growth is a growth, right? It's a screener. So a screener is an interim assessment, right? It takes the accurate review of what a student is doing and then takes it over time, right? This is a growth available to see how we can plan instruction and support our students as we are now coming back from a pandemic, right? So we're seeing where our students are, and then there's screeners, they're interim assessments that support us in ensuring that we have an accurate view of what our students and where they are. If we don't know where our students are, then we can't help them grow. And all students are at different levels or are learning differently. That does not mean that they're not getting highly rigorous instruction. It just means the access and resource that we're providing them to get to that point is what's changing, right? So everybody's reading the same New York Times article. It's just that we now have seen that maybe one of the students, maybe perhaps myself as a reader, I need it truncated, but somebody else, maybe like Anita as a student, she might just be able to read it on her own. So these are the things that we're doing to make sure that every child has access and an entry point into the information that we're giving them so they can be successful. So it's not changing, it's just making sure that we're meeting our students at where they're at, so they all can grow to be successful and have a critical conversation together about the same highly rigorous aligned, state standard aligned test.
Yeah, I think that's a good step, because I can share one of example. When I had a conversation with my kid's teacher, she told me that because of pandemic, a lot of students, like the level of student vary a lot. Some student actually able to catch up, some student above, and some student are way behind, which make their teaching actually very challenging. So I think that we too, like this, I'm talking about elementary level, so I'm not talking about high school level. So I think that if such tool available in elementary school, I think it can help teacher to assess their student in a way that so they will know which area to help, or how regrouping classes in a way that so that one class will have a level that meet the expectation, and another class will have level that require more attention on lower level, so we don't end up mixing students with different level and dragging everyone down. I think that's something that other school probably will want to consider, even at elementary level, because 2020, it's a very special year where a lot of kids just falling behind. And a tool like this, I think that it can help our students. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask a quick question about the screening exams, but so you said the point of them was to assess where students are, which makes complete sense. But what's the ultimate goal? Like, what's the goal in math and ELA? Is it to have them all the students fluent in pre-calculus, and but English is for ELA, it's a bit harder to define what you want the students to be able to do. Would you be able to elaborate on that more?
So the question is, what is the goal of the assessment? Ultimately, any goal in high school is that children master the standard, right? Every English, math, science, social, they all have standards, right? So teachers are teaching to the standards so that children are proficient. Now, in the ultimate goal for a student to graduate from high school, college, and career ready, that's set by the state, that's set by the city, where students have to get a 75 or better in ELA and 80 or better in math to be considered college ready, which means that they do not have to take non-matriculate courses or courses in college that they have to take to get a certain score on an exam. They go straight into matriculation and take courses that are ready for college. So I'm not sure the question of the assessment, anything we're doing in high schools is always preparing children to master and be proficient in the state standard that's aligned to 9th grade ELA, 10th grade math, whatever that may be. So it's based on the standards.
Okay, so the standards are remaining constant, even though the inconsistent year we've had has affected curriculum and advanced placement courses. It's not affecting any of the curriculum currently?
Standards don't change, right? How we support our children now moving forward is our goal, right? Our goal now is to see where our children are, what they learned throughout the pandemic. Look, we're not doing a learning loss, right? We have to now move our kids up to the next phase right now. It's not so much for us in the high school, right? We want to make sure that our children are moving. We all across the state, the city, everyone has been impacted by the pandemic. Our goal now is to make sure that we are very specific and always have been, right, to meet our students at their needs. It's knowing our students well. It's a shared and inclusive curriculum, right? There's nothing changed. We just happen to be gone through a pandemic. We will continue to do the work we're doing. And I can say that proudly in Brooklyn North and high schools, we've raised our graduation rate since 1819 to about I think we're up about 8 points. And Black and brown children specifically we've graduated more Black and brown children in our district over the past 4 years. And I think we've gone up 10% in our L population. And I've shared this before with all of you in data. So I think the work always has to be around the state standards. The curriculum can be tweaked, obviously, to meet the needs, to be relevant, to ensure that it's culturally responsive, but it always needs to be a learning objective that's aligned to the standards, that students can be prepared to understand the task, right? So you have to create a relevant task that students are going to understand, but meeting them at where they are. Because again, we know this, we know that students all learn differently. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that does. Thank you for the clarification.
We are going to speed through the remaining members. Tia, do you have something?
Oh yeah, hi. Hi, thank you, Superintendent Ross. I had a question about high school admissions and how we have been informed by our COVID adjustments to high school admissions, and whether we're going to see a more equitable admissions process going forward.
Okay, so that's a big question.
I mean, what are your what do you get a sense of, you know, in the city as to where we're going with this?
In terms of, so narrow it down a little bit, because it's a large question. I want to make sure that I understand. So are you talking specifically of diversity in District 15? Are you talking like, you know, give me a little bit so I can.
Right. Citywide. Yeah.
Okay, so so in terms of a more equitable, more students getting into high schools from the admissions process, the 12 high schools, I apologize because there's
just how the city is going to address you know, segregation in our high schools.
Sure. I mean, I think there's a major push in District 15. I think kudos to Superintendent Anita Scott, who's really bringing in some good work here in 15. I know District 13 is doing that as well. I think across all right now, it's a conversation that's open. It's there. It has to be, right? We need to look at, you know, all of there's a diversity plans in all of the schools around admissions, the high school admissions. I mean, I was just on a meeting today where they were discussing what it looks like at different districts in terms of students that are coming in from different areas. I mean, so it has to be. There's no other way we can't move. We need to move forward. So in conversations that I'm having, and I'm having a lot of them around high school admissions, especially this year as they took the some of the screening and some of the different changes that they made for districts and geographics for middle schools and high schools. This has to be a continuous conversation. We can't stop now, right? Like it's there. It's out in the open. We need to continue to have the conversation. And in the meetings I'm having, they're having those conversations. So I'm confident that we'll continue them and that they're being brought to parents and schools, and they're bringing these conversations. I think it's truly important that we hear from all stakeholders and how this looks moving forward.
And let us move forward. Antonia?
No comment. I don't have any questions.
Great, thank you. Nona?
No comment. Thank you, Superintendent Ross. Great report. I don't have any comment.
Thank you. Alfred?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan?
No questions. Thank you, Joe.
Excellent. Let's move on, please.
And thank you for the report. Very much.
I do think I want to go make sure that I share some of that insight around assessments, because I want to make sure that everybody gets the proper information and they're all informed. So I promise you next month I'll have a little bit more information on that too.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna try to see if my video is gonna work now. Sorry, I just had a miserable internet experience today, all day. Thank you so much, Superintendent Ross. Thank you so much, Greg Hagan. Always a pleasure to have you here, work with you. Thank you for that newsletter. Love it. I'm gonna try to push out more and more information about Brooklyn North High Schools, District 15 high schools. And we did send out an email to the public just yesterday, featuring our Brooklyn High School for the Arts. Yay. Love those guys.
Definitely. And we sent, the meeting that we did yesterday, we sent out a prior to that question. So if folks had any questions, we had it, prior. So we need to do a little bit better in translation. And I said that before, not to repeat myself, but it is important that we get those. So if you get any high school questions or you get some, send it to us and we'll make sure that we address them.
Yes, I will. And I might have missed it if you said this before, and I apologize. Is there could we have the recording of last night's meeting? Maybe we can share that with the public. Would that be okay?
I don't know.
Think about it.
Let me check. Yeah, let me check to see the recording. I know we took the questions and then we're sending them back to specific, but let me double check them. I don't know if we recorded it, and that's terrible. Not sure if we did or not.
We definitely had some tech issues last night, and like I said, those translators were present, but they were unable to perform their duties. And we had them there and we had it all set up, but things were just not going well. I'm not sure there is a transcript of the event, but I do not know if there was a recording. I do know that every one of the questions that we had questions submitted in a Q&A in the chat, as well as in advance through an email, and all of them were answered. So we're staying on top of it. And D15 was a great presence there last night. It was very good. So thank you.
Yes, Camille, thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you for everything that you do.
No problem.
I love the pedagogy of love.
I know it's 9:19 and I want to honor here. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to move on and say good night and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. And sorry about the time delay.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now that we've had our attention called to the time, 9:20, I just wanted to say that we have two more things on the agenda, which are resolutions that we had reviewed in our business meeting. One of them, resolution on increased COVID testing in schools. And Antonia made some amendments to update the document so that it is reflective of the recent changes. So I wonder if someone wouldn't mind dropping that in the chat. We have 24 participants on the call. So I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to respond to the resolution on increased COVID testing in schools. If this document actually was sent out to the public a few days ago with the announcement, and I wonder if people have already looked at it. I'm just worried about the time. I'm trying to figure out how to get these things done, respecting time, but also respecting the product itself and our public comment process. So should we just read it quickly and get feedback? Antonia, thoughts?
Yeah, read, unless Steve says we don't have to read it. Steve
I
still.
think you could probably motion it as read.
Could we just repeat the therefore be it resolved part, because we did add one line more there at the very
okay.
minimum.
Okay, so it's
sense.
maybe we should just read the whole thing. Resolution on increased COVID testing in schools and increased responsibility of the Situation Room. Whereas the New York State Department of Health determined that P through 12 schools are required to offer COVID-19 screening testing to unvaccinated students on a weekly basis in geographic areas identified by the CDC as having moderate, substantial, or high transmission rates. Whereas the New York State Department of Health determined that P through 12 schools are required to ensure teachers and staff have testing performed for COVID-19 at least once per week when a school is in a geographic area identified by the CDC as having low, moderate, substantial, or high transmission rates. Whereas positivity rates for the COVID-19 virus in District 15 neighborhoods remain high and have potential to increase as schools remain open and with holiday and weekend travel. Whereas rates of infection among children ages 0 to 17 continue to increase steadily, putting early childhood centers and elementary schools at particular risk due to the fact that vaccines are not currently approved for children under 12. Whereas testing of any given population on a weekly basis is effective in preventing the transmission of COVID-19 regardless of the sensitivity of the test. Whereas the DOE has indicated it will only test 10% of the consenting student population on a weekly basis and will not include vaccinated individuals as part of the testing pool. Whereas COVID-19 testing for school populations remains optional with in-person learning, and given that there is no mandate for parents to authorize their children to be tested, the percentage of tests administered in any school population is significantly reduced, whereas the hours of operation of the Situation Room have been reduced since last year, causing delays in classroom closures, whereas there has been no guidance for principals on how or what information to share about COVID-related cases in their school. And whereas this communication to families and staff on COVID-related cases in schools was offered previously through the Situation Room, this change in communication protocol is causing unnecessary confusion and creating further mistrust of the system, whereas school administrators are not empowered to independently quarantine classrooms. Therefore, be it resolved that the Department of Education increase COVID-19 testing in schools for all consenting students and staff. No, it should be just staff, okay, regardless of vaccination status across all ages. And be it further resolved that the hours and staff of the Situation Room be increased to accommodate greater testing, as well as continue the communication method that families and staff have become accustomed to in the past year. Does anybody want to make, oh, we have to do public comment.
Okay, I will open this up to public comment. Anyone on the call is free to comment or question. One last chance. Anyone have something to share? Raise your hand, please. Let's move forward.
So I'll make a motion to approve the rest. I'll make a motion to vote on the resolution.
I second.
Ivan seconded.
Okay,
You want to just do roll call?
yeah, I'll do it. Camille?
I approve.
Sorry. Antonio?
Yes, I approve.
Tia?
Approve.
Vincent?
Yes, I approve.
Nana?
Yes, I approve.
Alfred?
Approve.
Ivan?
Approve.
And I approve. The motion is carried or approved.
Wait, what about Nancy?
Has she signed her documents yet to be officially?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Is Nancy still here on the call?
I don't think so.
Yes, no.
Okay, so yeah, she had said earlier that she wouldn't be able to stay on the call the whole time. This didn't necessarily have to be an official meeting for her. We really just sort of got the news at the last minute, and she wanted to make sure that she could come and say hello, and that we could do these little things for her, this little celebration thing. I'll do more. Okay, so okay, so Antonia, you got all of the
I
votes,
got the
right?
vote. Yeah, I allowed.
Okay, fantastic. Someday we'll be able to catch up with these minutes.
Someday.
Okay, so next thing is resolution to align New York State and New York City school codes and data reporting. If somebody could drop that in the chat, that would be amazing. I
This,
do
I
not.
think we could probably just record as read. Is that what, Steve, is that the language you use?
Yeah, you can motion it, like you just vote on it and say that you read it.
Because I believe we didn't we read this a few weeks ago? Yeah.
We did.
Yes.
And I do not believe that there have been any changes to it.
No, it's Vincent. Did you get a chance to share that? Is it this different in how the data will report it? I don't know if I missed the email. If you have a handy, do you mind share how the two format looks, and so we can see the benefit of this resolution?
A minute. Hold on, I just lost my entire screen here. Sorry. I literally cannot see what I'm doing here. Hold on. Okay, so 1 minute. Please stop. Hold on, I'm gonna try to share this document. I don't know if I can do the screen share. I'm so sorry.
Do you want me to try? Are you trying to share the resolution?
No,
I put it in the chat.
I was trying to share a spreadsheet. Let me just see.
On what?
Share. Just 1 minute, so that Vincent and everybody could sort of see what this is all about and what it looks like. Hold on. Where did my whole computer go? I'm so sorry. Can you guys see anything or not really?
No, oh,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I'm so sorry. All right, so this is one of the New York State spreadsheets. And like what happens is that you see all of these, can you see my mouse? You see these beds numbers? These are the numbers that New York State uses. But when we are trying to do our city data, our numbers are something like 15K032. So that you really cannot do any real comparative work without having, wait a minute, what is this? Could somebody?
Best number is the school identifier. Am I correct?
Yes, right.
I see.
And the DOE uses these kind of numbers. So that you have to build the spreadsheet yourself. And this takes a lot of time. And then, okay, I just want to look inside of this document also, because I had a note here that one of the people on the citywide council who do a lot of data assessments offered me a example. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, so she said last year the state released the October register enrollment months ahead of the city. And if you are on a CEC and wanted to compare the 2020-21 enrollment for all of your schools compared to 2019-20, that you would have to manually look up each school individually because of the different ID numbers, or use a complicated conversion formula. So if the state had the DBN numbers, then you could just filter the list of enrollment data through those numbers. And I guess another advantage of this is that someone else was saying that we might be able to do more comparative data of New York City versus other New York State schools. I mean, that has never really come up in any of our work, but I'm curious about that as well now that it's come up. So those are just like a couple of examples of why this would be useful. I mean, it's definitely come up over the years, and I'm not sure why it doesn't already exist. It just seems really like a no-brainer to me.
I'd like to move to vote on this.
I second.
Thank you, Tia.
I didn't see, Camille, yes.
I agree.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I approve the resolution.
Tia,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes, I approve. Sorry, I was looking for my mute button.
okay. Nana,
Yes, I approve.
Alfred,
I approve.
I do as well, and Ivan.
Approve. Thank you.
Thank you. And it is approved.
Thank you all so much for your support around these resolutions. Very happy, and we'll share them as soon as they are camera ready, so to speak. So we have just a general public comment period left on the agenda, and I see that we still do have 18 participants on the call. So if anybody would like to make a general public comment, time would be now. I do not see any hands raised. So in that case, I would like to make a motion to adjourn at 9:36. And thank you so much, everyone, for really staying on the call and staying the course.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Everybody. Have a
Night.
good night.
Have a good night.
Night.
Hey, everyone.
Good
Thanks,
night,
Karen.
everybody.
Take it. Bye.
Thank you.